All right, let's explore the world of the pituitary gland.
Specifically, what happens when it's not working as it should?
A condition called hypopituitarism.
And
To guide us,
we've got a medical text.
all about diagnosing this tricky condition.
It's kind of like a medical detective story.
Yeah, where we piece together clues
From tests and symptoms
exactly like we're on a mission.
to solve a hormonal mystery.
Figuring out why the pituitary...
Isn't sending the right signals?
Precisely.
So first,
Remind us.
what does the pituitary gland even do?
Well, it's responsible for...
It's called the master gland.
Right, for producing and releasing hormones.
That control a wide range of
Bodily function,
everything from growth
from metabolism,
to reproduction.
stress response,
It's like the conductor,
an orchestra.
making sure everything's in harmony.
Exactly.
So in hypopituitarism,
Some instruments are out of tune.
or even missing,
Our source jumps right into the specifics,
starting with a hormone.
called corticotropin, or ACTH.
What's the big deal with this one? ACTH is the messenger
That tells your adrenal glands.
to produce cortisol.
Our primary stress hormone.
Cortisol is essential,
For a whole host of things.
regulating blood sugar,
Blood pressure.
helping us wake up.
And cope with stress.
Exactly.
So if your ACTH is low,
It means your cortisol is probably low too.
which is a major clue for hypopituitarism.
Oh, got it.
And the fascinating thing
Is a simple blood test.
in the morning,
Can reveal a lot about your cortisol levels.
if it's super low,
That's a big red flag.
but what if the cortisol level
Isn't extremely low.
but still below normal?
That's where it gets interesting.
So there's a gray area.
Exactly.
That's why doctors often rely on,
More specialized test
like, the Pituitary test.
to get a clearer picture.
Okay, the Pituitary test.
It sounds intimidating.
But break it down for us.
What happens during this test?
Yeah,
Well, it challenges your pituitary gland
to see how it responds.
under pressure.
Okay.
They give you a medication,
That blocks cortisol production.
mimicking a stressful situation,
So you're intentionally
causing cortisol to drop.
to see what the pituitary does.
If
the
it-
pituitary is working correctly.
It should sense that drop
And send out a surge of ACTH.
to try to boost production.
How do they measure that?
They measure the levels
Of another hormone,
called 11-deoxycortisol.
which is a precursor to cortisol.
If your pituitary sends out the ACTH signal,
Your adrenal glands will try to make more cortisol.
and you'll see a rise in 11-deoxycortisol.
But if it stays low,
It suggests your pituitary.
isn't responding as it should.
Exactly.
So this test basically reveals
Whether the communication lines
between the pituitary and the adrenal glands.
are working properly.
Got it.
Helps differentiate between
A problem with the adrenal glands themselves
versus the pituitary's ability.
to stimulate them.
Exactly.
This all sounds pretty intense.
It does.
Is this something you do?
At your regular doctor's office.
Right.
Actually, no.
Because
The Pituitary test lowers your cortisol.
temporarily.
It requires careful monitoring,
Okay.
typically in a hospital setting.
To make sure your blood pressure and other vital signs.
Stay stable.
And then they can give you
Hydrocortisone.
to bring your cortisol back to normal.
Quickly.
Wow. Okay.
So
I'm starting to see why diagnosing this.
this is like a detective story.
Are there any other ways?
To check the ACTH reserve.
Yeah. Are there other tests
There's the insulin-induced hypoglycemia test
where they give you insulin?
to lower your blood sugar.
Okay.
That also triggers a stress response.
Oh,
It can have some pretty intense side effects.
quick what?
Sweating, shakiness,
Oh, wow.
even confusion
So the Pituitary test,
is often preferred.
because it's gentler.
Much gentler.
Okay, so we've explored how doctors figure out.
If your ACTH is functioning properly,
What other hormonal clues are they looking for?
well, next on the list
In this hypopituitarism investigation,
is thyroid-stimulating hormone.
better known as TSH.
You're probably familiar with the thyroid. Thyroid disorders are pretty common.
Yeah, you always hear about people having...
An overactive or underactive thyroid.
Right.
And here's where the pituitary comes in.
Okay.
TSH is the signal from the pituitary.
That tells the thyroid.
How much thyroid hormone to produce.
Okay.
So if someone has hypothyroidism,
An underactive thyroid.
one of the first things doctors check.
Is the TSH level?
If the thyroid is sluggish,
You'd expect TSH to be high
trying to kickstart
to
it.
get it going.
Exactly. Here's the key insight.
From our source.
If someone has low thyroid hormone,
T4.
but their TSH isn't high,
That points to the pituitary.
it means the thyroid isn't working properly.
But the pituitary isn't sending the signal.
To fix it
Wow, so it's all about the interplay.
between these hormones.
What's next on our pituitary hormone hit list?
Let's talk about
Okay.
gonadotropins.
LH and FSH
These are the hormones.
that regulate reproductive function.
Things like testosterone in men.
And estrogen in women.
Yeah.
So we're getting into the realm of...
Fertility and hormone.
Exactly.
Diagnosing gonadotropin deficiencies
Can be a bit different.
depending on whether we're talking about men or women.
Oh, how so?
For men, it's pretty straightforward.
Okay.
Low testosterone
Is a strong indicator.
of LH deficiency.
But for women...
It's more nuanced.
Yeah.
Menstrual cycles come into play.
Right.
Doctors will
A
consider,
woman's menstrual history.
are their cycles regular?
Are they experiencing any changes?
If there are irregularity,
A hormone test
like estradiol levels,
can provide more insights.
so it's not just a single blood test
It's about looking at the bigger picture.
of a woman's reproductive health.
Exactly.
Now, you mentioned the GnRH test earlier.
For ACTH,
Does that come into play here?
with gonadotropins,
Too.
it can,
Okay.
but it's not as reliable.
For diagnosing these deficiencies.
A single GnRH test
And is always helpful.
in distinguishing between issues
Originating in the pituitary
versus the hypothalamus, which is the part of the brain.
that controls the pituitary.
Ah, right, the hypothalamus.
It's like the command center.
That tells the pituitary what to do.
Exactly.
And sometimes the problem,
Isn't with the pituitary itself.
but with the signals,
From a hypothalamus.
Right.
So it's a real puzzle.
is.
But that's what makes this so fascinating.
I agree.
Okay, we've covered ACTH
GSC.
and the gonadotropins.
What other pituitary hormones?
We need to investigate.
Let's move on to a hormone
Okay.
that's often associated with childhood.
Okay.
Growth hormone.
Sure.
What many people don't realize is that growth hormone isn't just for kids,
You mean it has a role beyond?
helping us grow taller.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Growth hormone impacts body composition and metabolism.
Throughout our lives.
It helps build and maintain muscle mass
Regulates bone density.
and influences how our bodies use energy,
Okay, so it's pretty important stuff.
even for adults.
How do doctors figure out if someone is deficient in growth hormone?
Well,
Growth hormone levels fluctuate,
throughout the day,
so you can't just rely.
on a single measurement.
Right.
So how do they crack the case?
Our source outlines 3 main clues.
Okay.
First,
If you have deficiencies,
in multiple other pituitary hormones.
it makes growth hormone deficiency.
Much more likely.
Okay.
Second,
If a hormone called IGF-1 is low,
that's a strong confirmation.
IGF-1,
Is produced in response to growth hormone.
so if it's low,
It suggests the signal isn't getting through.
interesting.
So it's kind of like a domino effect.
If other hormones are off,
Growth hormone is likely affected too.
okay, what about that third clue?
The third clue involves
What's called
provocative tests.
provocative tests
They're basically ways
to challenge the pituitary.
to release growth hormone
Okay.
and see how it responds.
So instead of passively measuring the hormone level,
They actively try to stimulate it.
got it.
One option is the insulin-induced hypoglycemia test.
We mentioned earlier
They're dropping blood sugar
is a stressor.
that triggers growth hormone release,
Right.
but there's also a safer and easier option
Okay, what's that?
called the arginine GHRH test.
Arginine
Is an amino acid.
and GHRH
Is a hormone
naturally stimulates.
growth hormone production.
So it's like giving the pituitary
Double nudge.
to get it going.
Exactly.
And if the response is weak,
It indicates a growth hormone deficiency.
okay, we've covered a lot of ground here.
ACTH, TSH, gonadotropins.
And now growth hormone
We're getting a real sense.
of how complex the pituitary is.
And how these hormone levels
Can tell such a detailed story.
about what's happening in the body.
It really is remarkable.
Each hormone test provides.
A valuable piece of the puzzle.
Yeah.
And it highlights how important it is.
To have a skilled endocrinologist.
Who can interpret all of these clues?
Absolutely.
Is there one final piece
Of the pituitary puzzle.
we need to address?
Yes. The last hormone our source touches on.
Is prolactin, or primarily known for its role in lactation.
Exactly.
Our source doesn't go into great detail
But it does mention
that women with severe hypopituitarism,
may have low prolactin levels.
and this can lead to difficulty.
With breastfeeding.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So we've really gone
From the big picture
of the pituitary gland
to the nitty-gritty.
of specific hormone tests,
We've seen how each test provides a clue.
helping us unravel.
The mystery of hypopituitarism.
And we've learned it's not a one-size-fits-all diagnosis.
The specific hormones affected
Vary.
greatly from person to person
But what's even more fascinating
is what happens after the diagnosis.
how do doctors treat hypopituitarism?
And what does it mean?
to live with this condition
We'll explore all of that
in part 2
of our deep dive. Welcome back to our deep dive,
into hypopituitarism
where we're exploring the fascinating world
of hormones
and the intricate dance.
in our bodies.
After cracking the code of diagnosis in part 1, we're ready to tackle
The next big question: how do you treat a condition?
where your body's master hormone regulator
The pituitary gland.
isn't quite hitting all the right notes.
Let's dive into that. But first,
I think it would be helpful
to recap,
the complexities of diagnosing hypopituitarism
we learned that it's not as simple.
as checking one single hormone level.
Right. It's about looking
The
at
entire hormonal symphony.
understanding how each instrument
Or in this case, each hormone.
it contributes to the overall balance.
And sometimes,
like with the metirapone tests,
for ACTH deficiency,
doctors need to challenge the system
a bit.
to see how it responds.
It's like putting the
Or
pituitary
a stress test.
to see if it can rise to the occasion.
Okay, so let's shift our focus.
To treatment
What are the main approaches?
for managing hypopituitarism
The cornerstone of treatment,
is hormone replacement therapy,
which essentially involves
giving the body
what the pituitary isn't producing.
enough
So you're supplementing the missing hormones.
to restore balance.
Exactly. It's like providing
Those missing instruments
so the orchestra.
so they can play the full symphony.
Okay, but wouldn't that make things
Overly complicated
adding to keep track?
of multiple hormone supplements. It can seem daunting at first. The good news is
That hormone replacement therapy?
highly individualized.
You mean it's not a one-size-fits-all approach?
Precisely.
Okay.
The type and dosage
Of hormone replacement therapy,
depend on several factors.
including which hormones are deficient
The severity of the deficiency,
in the individual.
overall health and lifestyle,
So it's about finding the right combination
and
for each person's unique needs.
absolutely
For example, someone with ACTH deficiency
leading to low cortisol,
would typically need,
hydrocortisone replacement.
which essentially mimics
The action of
the
cortisol
naturally produced
by the adrenal glands,
exactly,
and the dosage is carefully adjusted,
to ensure it's not too high or too low,
aiming for that sweet spot.
where the person feels their best.
Right.
And for someone with TSH deficiency,
And an underactive thyroid.
what's the go-to treatment?
In that case,
Synthetic thyroid hormone
like levothyroxine,
is typically prescribed. So it's like replacing the missing thyroid hormone.
with a synthetic version.
Right.
And just like with hydrocortisone,
The dosage is carefully adjusted
based on regular blood tests.
to ensure optimal thyroid function.
Exactly.
Now, I know growth hormone deficiency
It's become a hot topic.
in recent years
What's the latest on treatment? Growth hormone replacement therapy,
is becoming increasingly common
particularly for adults.
with growth hormone deficiency. But wait, isn't growth hormone?
It's just for kids.
Yeah.
That's a common misconception.
Okay.
While growth hormone is crucial,
For childhood growth and development,
it continues to play an important role in adults.
influencing body composition, muscle mass,
Bone density.
and even energy levels
So if you're deficient in growth hormone,
as an adult
it can have some pretty significant effects.
on your overall health and well-being.
Absolutely.
And that's why growth hormone replacement therapy
Is becoming more widely recognized.
as a valuable treatment option.
Right.
What are the potential benefits?
Of growth hormone replacement therapy for adults,
Studies have shown
that it can lead to improvements
in body composition
with increased muscle mass.
and decreased fat mass,
So it can help
with those frustrating changes in metabolism
that many people experience.
as they age.
Exactly.
It can also improve bone density,
Reducing the risk of fractures.
especially in older adults.
Right.
And I imagine it could help
With energy levels, too. Yes, fatigue is a common symptom.
of growth hormone deficiency.
And replacement therapy.
Can often boost energy and stamina.
That's encouraging to hear.
Are there any other benefits?
Beyond the physical ones,
Some studies suggest
that growth hormone replacement therapy,
can also have positive effects on mood
cognitive function.
and overall quality of life,
Wow, so it's not just about
building muscles and increasing energy.
it's also potentially enhancing mental well-being
It really highlights the interconnectedness
of our hormonal system,
and its impact on every aspect.
of our lives.
Okay, so we've covered the basics
Of hormone replacement therapy,
for ACTH, TSH, and growth hormone deficiencies.
are there any other key points?
Our listeners should know about treatment
One crucial aspect
to remember.
is that hormone replacement therapy
Is generally a lifelong commitment, so you can't just stop taking the hormones.
Once you start feeling better,
Not quite.
abruptly stopping hormone replacement therapy,
Can be dangerous.
especially for those on cortisol replacement.
Why is that?
Well, remember, cortisol is our primary stress hormone.
If you suddenly remove the supplemental cortisol
Without careful tapering,
and medical supervision,
your body can go into adrenal crisis.
so it's like the body becomes reliant,
On the external source of cortisol
and removing it abruptly.
can be a shock to the system.
Exactly.
It's crucial to work closely with your doctor
To adjust dosages as needed.
and to carefully
Monitor
monitor.
your hormone levels over time.
So it's an ongoing partnership
Between patient and doctor,
to ensure the treatment.
remains effective and safe. Precisely.
And it's not just about medication
Are there other factors?
that can influence treatment success.
Absolutely.
Lifestyle modifications.
Can also play a significant role.
In managing hypopituitarism, like what kind of modifications?
Things like maintaining a healthy diet,
Getting regular exercise
managing stress,
can all contribute to overall hormone balance.
and help improve symptoms.
So even though you're replacing and missing hormones,
It's still important.
to take care of your overall health
Exactly. It's a holistic approach.
that involve
Both medical treatment.
and lifestyle adjustments.
Precisely.
This is all incredibly helpful information
I'm starting to get a real sense
of how hypopituitarism can impact,
a person's life.
and it goes way beyond just physical symptoms.
Right.
It can affect energy levels, mood,
Cognitive function.
even fertility.
And while hormone replacement therapy is the cornerstone,
Of treatment,
it's not a quick fix.
it requires ongoing monitoring
Dosage adjustments
and a commitment.
to healthy lifestyle habits
It's a reminder that managing any chronic condition,
is a journey
and it often involves a close partnership.
between patient and doctor
And despite the challenges,
with the right treatment and lifestyle modifications
individuals with hypopituitarism,
can lead fulfilling and active lives.
that's incredibly encouraging.
So we've talked about the diagnosis
The symptoms
and now the treatment approaches.
for hypopituitarism,
This deep dive has really helped us unravel
the complexities,
of this often overlooked condition
and hopefully it's empowered our listener.
with knowledge and a sense of hope.
Because even when the hormonal orchestra,
Is a bit out of tune,
there are ways to restore harmony
and that's
of knowledge, awareness.
and a proactive approach to health. But before we wrap up,
I'm curious,
what stands out to you
as the most important takeaway?
from this discussion on hypopituitarism?
I think the key takeaway,
Is that hypopituitarism
while complex,
is manageable, so it's not a life sentence.
absolutely not.
With early detection, proper diagnosis,
An individualized treatment.
individuals can live full and meaningful lives. That's reassuring to hear.
Early detection hinges on.
Recognizing the signs and symptoms.
Exactly.
And that's why it's so important.
To be aware of the potential red flags.
Like unexplained fatigue.
Changes in menstrual cycles.
Or difficulty concentrating.
If you experience any of these symptoms,
Don't hesitate.
to reach out to your doctor,
Because the sooner you get diagnosed,
the sooner you can start treatment.
you can get back on track.
And remember, knowledge is power,
The more you understand about your body,
and the signals it's sending
the better equipped you are.
to advocate for your health.
Well said.
Now we've covered a lot of ground.
In this deep dive.
But there's always more to learn.
And that's the beauty of the journey of knowledge.
It's an ongoing exploration.
Absolutely.
For our listeners
Who are eager to delve deeper.
into this topic,
Where would you recommend they turn?
there are some excellent resources available.
Online and in libraries,
Reputable medical websites,
patient advocacy groups
and even scientific journals.
can provide valuable insights.
And of course,
Consulting with a qualified endocrinologist.
is always a good idea.
They can provide personalized guidance
Answer your specific questions.
and help you navigate.
The complexities of hypopituitarism.
This has been an incredibly insightful conversation.
I feel like we've really illuminated
The often hidden world.
of hypopituitarism
And hopefully, we've empowered our listeners
to take charge of their health.
and seek the support they need.
So until next time,
Stay curious, stay informed
and keep diving deep
into the fascinating world.
of knowledge and self-discovery.
And remove
Even when the hormonal orchestra,
is a bit out of tune.
there are ways to restore harmony.
And live a full and meaningful life. Welcome back.
To the deep dive.
We've been unraveling.
The mysteries of hypopituitarism.
We've explored the challenges of diagnosis
The impact on different hormones.
and the importance of personalized treatment
Oh,
in this final part.
We're going to shift our focus.
to the bigger picture.
What does it actually mean?
to live with hypopituitarism?
What are the long-term implications?
And how can individuals
Navigate the challenges?
and embrace a fulfilling life?
Those are great questions.
Let's start by addressing
The emotional and psychological impact.
of this diagnosis.
It's important to acknowledge
That receiving a diagnosis
of hypopituitarism,
the overwhelming.
even if you've suspected
Something was wrong.
for a while,
It's a chronic condition.
often requiring lifelong treatment.
And that can be a heavy realization.
Absolutely.
And the symptoms themselves
Can take a toll.
on emotional well-being,
Fatigue, low mood,
cognitive changes,
can impact relationships, work.
and overall quality of life.
So it's not just about managing,
The physical symptoms,
but also the emotional.
like psychological aspects.
Exactly.
And that's where
A strong support system comes in
you mean having people to lean on,
to talk to
to help you navigate.
the ups and downs.
Precisely.
Family, friends
Even therapists.
can provide invaluable support.
And understanding
That's a reminder.
that we don't have to go through this alone.
There are also online resources
And communities
where individuals
with hypopituitarism
can connect
share experiences.
and find support.
That sense of community.
Can be so empowering. Absolutely.
It helps to know
You're not the only one,
facing these challenges
and that there are people
who understand.
what you're going through.
Okay, so we've talked about the emotional aspect
What about the practical side?
of living with hypopituitarism.
Are there specific lifestyle adjustments?
That can make a difference.
There certainly
And many of these adjustments,
are beneficial for overall health.
regardless of whether you have...
Hypopituitarism
So it's a win-win situation.
Exactly.
Maintaining a balanced diet,
is crucial for everyone.
but it's particularly important.
For individuals with hormone deficiencies,
You mean making sure you're getting
the right nutrients
to support your body's needs
Right.
and regular exercise.
can also be incredibly helpful.
It can improve energy levels
Boost mood.
and even enhance hormone sensitivity
So even though fatigue can be a major symptom,
of hypopituitarism.
staying active can actually,
How the
it might seem counterintuitive.
But it's true.
And don't underestimate the power
Of stress management techniques.
like meditation
Yo.
or spending time in nature
Because stress can wreak havoc.
on our hormones. Absolutely.
And since hypopituitarism,
Is all about hormone imbalance
managing stress can play a significant role.
in improving overall well-being.
So it's a holistic approach.
That involves both medical treatment.
And lifestyle adjustments.
Exactly.
And it's about finding,
What works best for you?
as an individual,
Yeah.
you mentioned earlier that hormone replacement therapy.
Is often a lifelong commitment.
How does that impact daily life?
It's important to be organized
And proactive.
when it comes to managing your medications.
So keeping track of dosages
Refill schedules.
and potential side effects. It
Yeah.
can be helpful.
To use pill organizer.
Set reminders on your phone
Or even keep a journal.
to track your medications.
And any changes in symptoms,
It's about becoming...
your own health advocate.
Exactly.
And don't hesitate to reach out.
To your doctor or pharmacist.
If you have any questions or concerns,
They're there to support you.
ensure you're getting
Get best possible care. And it's crucial to remember
that while hypopituitarism presents,
unique challenges.
it doesn't define you.
You mean it's just one aspect?
Of your life,
Hmm?
not your entire identity.
Precisely.
There are so many other
It
things.
make you who you are. Your passions, your relationships.
Your values, your dreams,
It's about focusing
on what brings you joy.
and purpose.
Exactly.
And
There
remembering
are countless individuals
with hypopituitarism
who are living fulfilling
and successful lives. They're entrepreneurs, athletes, artists,
parents.
and so much more
It's a testament
to human resilience
and the power of the human spirit
to overcome challenges.
and thrive.
So for our listeners who may be feeling overwhelmed
Or if
after receiving a diagnosis,
hypopituitarism,
what's the most important message?
you want to leave them with, I want them to know that there is hope
There is support.
and there is a path forward.
It's not the end of the story.
It's just a new chapter.
And while this chapter may present,
Some unexpected twists and turns.
you have the strength
And the resources.
to navigate it.
And remember, you are not alone.
There are people who understand
People who care.
and people who are here to help.
So reach out
Seek support.
and embrace the journey
This has been an incredible deep dive.
into the world of hypopituitarism,
We've explored the science
the challenges,
and the triumphs
and hopefully we've empowered our listener
with knowledge, understanding.
with a sense of hope.
So until next time,
Stay curious,
Stay informed
and keep diving deep
into the fascinating world.
of knowledge and self-discovery.
And remember,
Even when the hormonal orchestra,
is a bit out of tune.
there are ways to restore harmony.
And live a full and meaningful life